Guys, welcome to the first video on my brand new Jimmy Nevsky Gaming YouTube channel, and in this first video I'm going to be addressing the state of the meta that has completely taken over Al Mazrah and Warzone 2.0, and that meta is of course the RPK and the Fennec. And I know everybody's using these guns, but what if I told you that there are a couple of guns out there that are far better than the RPK and the Fennec? And with the help of sim.gg, which is a data mining tool that I use to find all my best builds, I found a couple of builds out there that completely blow these guns out the water. So start using them right now before they get nerfed. I think 90% of the player base are not using these builds. So let's jump into the video and check it out. So I've gone ahead and loaded the RPK and the RAL MG into sim.gg so we can compare the stats, see how they stack up against each other. I'm just going to give you an overview of how the website works. So at the top you can put all your attachments in, so I've done a more or less meta build. Down below you can see some of the weapon stats, but the more important one that we're going to focus on here is this muzzle velocity. So on the RPK we have about 934 meters per second, and if we compare that to the RAL, we get well over 130 meters per second difference using the meta build that I have done for the RAL MG. But what does this all mean? So what it basically means when it comes to bullet velocity is how fast those bullets are going to travel and what kind of bullet drop you're going to get. So if we look at the time to kill, pretty much across the entire board, the RAL is quicker than the RPK, and if you manage to get a headshot in there as well, the time differences are crazy. If you get one headshot in with the RAL as opposed to the RPK, you can cut down the time to kill in half. So comparing these two guns, the RAL in this respect is better as a long-range gun anyway. It completely destroys the RPK, and I personally think it has much better handling and recoil than the RPK does. And the RPK's already got good recoil, so that should tell you something about how good this gun is. Again, if we come down, have a look at the torso damage, it's the same kind of conversation you're going to have across the board, but as soon as you mix in headshots and get, a little bit further out with your gunshots, the difference is night and day. And when we look at the bullet drop as well, you can see that the RAL just carries the bullets better. You're going to be more accurate at range, and overall it's just a better gun than the RPK. So I'm going to go through and give you all of the attachments. We're going to jump onto the gunsmith on Warzone. These are some of the attachments I've got on in the website, but I'm going to jump in, show you my builds, my tunings, and show you how they compete with each other down the firing range, and I promise you, you're not going to go back. First, let's have a look at a meta RPK build and see how the recoil behaves when we don't touch any recoil control at all. As we see, it does kick up quite a bit, but it's very controllable. I'm not saying it isn't. This is what it looks like when we try and control it. So as you can see, the RPK is pretty easy to control. That's why so many people use it. Now, let's flip over to the RAL and see how that gets on. Now, once again, for this first test, I am not going to touch any recoil controls. I'm not going to touch my stick, so let's see how it behaves. So as you can see clearly, it stays way closer to the center than the RPK does, as evident by all the bullet holes on the ceiling. Now let's have a look at it when we actually try to control the weapon. So there you go, with a bit of recoil control, it's extremely easy to handle, no gun shake, and it slaps way harder than the RPK does, so get using it, guys. Alright, so let's have a look at the build for my RAL LMG. So for our muzzle, we're going to be using the Bruin Agent 90, tuning it a bit towards recoil smoothness and a little bit towards bullet velocity. If we have a look at the barrel, we're going to be using the 21-inch EXF Rhino barrel with the tunings that you can see on screen right now. If we go down to the grip, or the side grip rather, we're using the SA side grip, a little bit of aiming idle stability, velocity and a little bit of recoil stabilization in there as well. For the ammunition type, of course, we want to be rocking the high velocity ammo. The tunings are on the screen exactly how I use it. I go more for recoil smoothness rather than damage range, because all it does is affect the damage drop off, and it's already so good. You're only getting a few extra meters out of it, so there's no point pushing it for damage range, and that's why I have it tuned the way that I have it. Finally, if we go over and head towards the optic, I am rocking the AIM OPV4. I like to use this on most of my weapons if I'm not using the iron sights, and I tune it for far so that you'll have a little bit less of that visual shake on the screen. And that is the ultimate build for the Royal LMG. So get slapping and let's have a look at those SMGs. Now I've gone ahead and loaded in 3 of the best SMGs in the game, or at least 3 of the most chosen SMGs, that being the Fennec, the Vaznek, the Lachmann sub, and then I've added the Chimera. Now as you can see, the Fennec, as we know, is the fastest killing SMG in the game, but is it really? And is it really the best one to use? Now, if we have a look through these different SMGs, you can see the Fennec is in orange, the Vaznek is in green, the Lachmann is in purple, and I've put the Chimera in blue. And all of these guns are on completely base stats, so I've not added any attachments because people like to build these SMGs very, very differently. So the first thing that I'm going to have a look at is the actual target that you're going to be hitting. So look, if we go to the first 10 meters, so if you're a very, very aggressive player and you go to that first 10 meters, you'll see that the Vaznek is actually the fastest killing SMG in the game. So if you're a super aggressive pushing style player and you like to barrel stuff people, you should probably be using the Vaznek. It's also a much more, I would say, forgiving weapon than the Fennec. As you know, the Fennec can run out of ammo very quickly, even with its 45 round mag, whereas the Vaznek is a little bit more usable over a slightly longer range. And even though the stats may say otherwise, I'm talking about how well the gun behaves, how good the iron sights are, and the way that you can build the guns. Because at the end of the day, as soon as you start putting some attachments on, they become more and more viable throughout different ranges. So first of all, if you are truly barrel stuffing people, you want to be using the Vaznek. Now, if we go and change it to, let's say, headshots, that's where the Fennec really starts to shine. When you're talking headshots, the Fennec, it just outclasses everything within the first 12 meters. But the likelihood of getting a headshot is not as likely as these extremity shots. Now, when we look at extremities, so we start to look at the arms, the legs, even if we look at the lower torso, we can see that everything starts to get a lot more comparable. Now, the reason I've put the Chimera in is because when you're talking extremities, when you're talking shooting specifically legs and arms, the Chimera is actually quicker than pretty much everything, except it's far more usable past that 12 meter mark. So as soon as you get targets that are outside of 12 meters, which is extremely common in Warzone, the Chimera is going to be a far better secondary weapon to have, and you can see it beats everything across the board. Now again, all these stats are base, so at the end of this I'm going to give you a build for the Chimera, and I've seen people, this is specifically aimed at Lego Unlocked, who's another channel on YouTube. Stop saying Chimera, it does my head in. It is Chimera. So when we're having a look at the Chimera, as you can see, besides the headshots and besides anything within about 10 meters, if it's 10 meters, you want the Vaznek, and for anything else, for anything more viable, especially for average players, and even for more advanced players who are going to have to switch to a secondary weapon, something they can get out quicker alongside their LMG or assault rifle, the Chimera, it beats absolutely everything, and people don't underestimate how powerful that extremity damage really, really is. So I would highly, highly recommend, as my #1 SMG in the game right now, I think you should be rocking the Chimera, and I'm going to give you a build for it in a minute, which takes advantage of the gun itself. Now, when we think about Warzone 1, we know that we could only have one ammo stack in the game, whereas in Warzone 2, it's very, very, very common to be able to carry, you know, multiple stacks of, let's say, AR ammo. So you're not going to find yourself running out of ammo, and you're only going to be using it as your secondary. So the ammo issue is completely negligible with you rocking 2 ARs. Anyway, those are all my thoughts on the SMGs. Try it out. I promise you're going to start getting more kills. Now moving over to the build of the Chimera, you'll see that I don't use a muzzle or a barrel. Obviously you don't show up on the minimap with unsuppressed weapons anymore, so you don't really need to focus on a muzzle. So I'm focusing on making this feel like a faster paced SMG that can be more viable at different ranges. So for the laser, I'm putting on the Point G3P04, gives you a little bit more hip fire, better aim down sight speed, that's why I put that on. I do put an underbarrel on, I put the F-Tac Ripper. It makes the gun a little bit more stable, especially without the barrel and the muzzle, which would normally give you those benefits. But honestly, this gun handles so well, and you're using it mainly at close range, you're fine. For the magazine, stick a 45 round mag on, great damage per mag, better than the Fennec, you're going to be able to actually finish your kills. Bruin Flash Grip. For the grip, again, built around movement. All my tunings are on the screen right now, but feel free to tweak it as you see fit in the Warzone Gunsmith. But this has given me so much success, and again, it's down to that extremity damage. When we come to the stock, I'm using the Ravage 8. I don't know how you pronounce that. Ravage, whatever. This is how I use it. Aim down sight speed and aim walking speed tends to be the main focus for an SMG. And that's basically it. I promise, try it out. I swear to you, you're going to be dropping more kills. Pair that up with the Royal LMG and start dropping those dubs immediately. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to help build the channel so that I can post more regularly. And I'm going to be covering loads and loads of different things within Warzone, how to get more wins, how to rotate properly, best strategies for victory. And as soon as I find new builds, I'm going to be sharing them with you. So take care and see you on the next one.